Right, so we've got this CHRA GSI to do today. I'm going to show you the quickest way to replace the turbocharger core. So we're not going to completely replace the whole unit. We're going to keep the exhaust manifold. I'm going to change the compressor housing because I've got one for the bigger VXR, and we're going to put a VXR core in this. So instead of just showing you how to change a turbo, which is pretty easy, I'm going to also show you how to change the turbocharger core as well. So I stripped down the front end. I got rid of the radiator, the intercooler and the aircon rad. It makes it a ton easier. You can see how much space you got in here now. You can do it through inside the engine bay, but it makes it a ton harder, and trust me, it's a lot quicker just to strip the front end. So now I can get on with removing the turbo. So with the heat shield and a lot of things removed, you can see a lot clearer view of the turbocharger. This video is not a how to remove your turbocharger video, as that's been done a lot of times before. So it's just going to be how to split the core from the exhaust side, and then we're going to replace this. We're also going to replace the compressor side because it's larger on the VXR, the large compressor wheel. So here's the turbocharger off the car. I've already removed the oil return. So now what you want to do is you want to start removing all the water pipes, the actuator. Basically the idea is we're going to take this core out of here, which is the CHRA, and we're going to split the two, the exhaust housing and the compressor housing and the core, from each other. So here's over in the clean corner. Basically we've got a brand new Bob Warner core. So you've got all OE reliability. You ain't getting no Chinese cores and Chinese crap. So this is the core. So you can see it's literally brand new. So we're going to fill the core up with oil before we fit it. That's essential. Otherwise you're going to have dry bearings. We also will prime it as well. But basically the Z20let turbocharger has a different size compressor wheel, so it wouldn't fit into the Z20let, as you can see the size difference. So we can't use that. We're going to use the recirc valve. We're going to use the boost control solenoid. And here's a good comparison, the two together. So you can see that's the Z20let and that's the K04 from the Astra VXR. And you can see there how much bigger the compressor wheel is, and the fact that it has extended tips as well on the extruder side, just allows for more airflow. So that's what we're going to be fitting. So when you're going to reassemble these turbos, always make sure you check the diaphragm on the recirculation valve, because the one that come off the car, as you can see, has a split. So luckily I had a spare one, brand new. So yep, that's going to cause a boost leak and you're going to have poor performance. So I'd always recommend uprating these to say a forged one, but this is going to be running standard boost levels, so it's not really going to be a problem. Make sure your spring still nice and flexible, not rusty, and you'll be good to go. So that's the unit assembled, or the compressor cover assembled. I always use a bit of galvanising spray on the bits that rust, like the brackets and stuff, and the bolts. It looks pretty fresh now. So get this back onto the turbo. So I got this manifold stripped down, just went over it with a wire wheel on the knot wheel, and put some high temperature paint on it. Resurfaced the flange underneath. That's all nice and clean now because it's a multi-layer gasket, it won't seal. So start bolting the core back to the turbo. Right, so when you're fitting the core to the housing, make sure it's still loose. I'll show you why after. And also, if you're not fitting this to a VXR, this blank here needs to be moved to here. On the Z20let, this one needs to be blanked off and the water comes off of this one. So I'm going to move that now. Right, now you can see that the blank's been removed and moved into a different spot. Obviously we're going to fit the compressor housing now. You can see round here there's a groove. This is where this O-ring fits. You can't just buy these off the shelf, so if you need one of these let me know and I can get hold of them for you. is a high temperature seal. If you don't fit one of these, it's going to create a boost leak. With the Z20let, they don't come with them, so you can't just swap them over. So we've got the compressor side fitted again, same as the exhaust side. Leave the bolts so they're semi-tight, but enough to get a bit of movement, and I'll show you why that is. Right, now it's time to bolt the oil return back on. Make sure it's pointing right. Always use a new gasket. They come with a metal gasket standard. You can use these gaskets, they're absolutely fine. They're a high temperature gasket. Only do these bolts up to 8 Newton meters. Don't over crush them, otherwise you're going to have an oil leak. Right, now you can see I've bolted the turbo back onto the head. We're just using one bolt up here. This is the reason that I've left the manifold loose, because nothing's going to line up because you've replaced the core. In the factory they do this on a jig, so you just want to move the core back, move the compressor housing about until you line up the oil return. And once you've done that, then you can do the same with the compressor housing. Make sure this is straight, make sure it lines up with your charge carrier, and you can tighten these 10 mils back up, make sure everything's lined up properly, and then you can take the manifold back off and do this back on the vice. Right, with the manifold back in the vice, make sure all these 10 mils are all done up as tight as possible. On the inlet side, they don't have to be done up super tight because it's aluminium, it could strip it. On the steel side, there's probably a torque rating for them, but I don't know how you'd get the torque rating on a spanner. So just do them up as tight as you can. They're pretty tough threads. And then you can start bolting in the waterways and the oil feed. Right, so I'm just fitting on the last water pipe on the front of the turbo. Always make sure that you fit new copper washers to your banjos, otherwise you're going to end up pulling the turbo back off when you've got a water and oil leak. Right, a quick last thing to check before you put the turbo on the car. Now it's all freshly put together. Just go inside the exhaust housing, just make sure the turbine's spinning nice and freely. It's got no play and it's not catching on side to side on the exhaust housing or the compressor housing. And then you know that everything's seated, all the core's seated properly and the compressor's seated properly, and you're ready to bolt it on the car. So that's the turbo fitted to the car. Fitted a brand new exhaust gasket as well. All that's left to do is prime up the turbo. I'll get the car back together and I'll show you how to do that. Right, so the turbo's back in. Everything's bolted up, all the oil lines, water lines, everything. Just connected the battery. The best way to prime up the turbo is to remove either the coil pack, or if you have a crossover delete, you can just remove the crank sensor. Obviously just removing the coil pack, still going to pump the injectors, but it's not going to be no issue. So turn the car over for a good 30 seconds. So what you're looking for is, got the oil pressure light here. Just keep turning the car over until the oil pressure light goes out, and that's 99% of the time, that's absolutely fine. So as soon as that light goes out, you know there's enough oil pressure. There you go. I'll give it another 10 seconds and you know there's enough oil got to the turbo. Sometimes if it's a brand new build, I'll unplug the oil line off the top of the turbo and I'll check it that it's getting fluid. So let's get it started. So I've just dropped the car down to the floor. I've put the bumper on, refilled it with water. So we're going to give it a start up now. And the purpose of this video really was just to show you that you don't have to spend 600 quid on a complete brand new unit when you can use a lot of the good parts that you've already got on your car. And you can see how simple it was to change from the Z20let to the Z20leh turbo. So that's an upgrade as well as a replacement. So if the video helped you, save you a lot of money in the future, and that was what it's all about. So you can see it's running lovely. No more smoke coming from between the core, which is what it was doing before. And no more smoke from the exhaust. Nice and clean again. You can see how the oil was burning from it before. So give it a blast down the motorway and clear that out. So I hope this video helped you. And drop us a like if you want. And thanks for watching the video.